Hello class and welcome to my demonstration speech. I'm going to go ahead and get started. How many of you have a sweet tooth like I do? Well, today we're going to discuss and prepare a sweet treat that is delicious and actually very easy to make. The sweet treat that we're going to prepare today is chocolate chip cookies, which are going to be made from scratch, not store-bought, not out of a tube or out of a box or anything, but we're going to make them from scratch. I know that you may think that this is going to be something that's going to take forever, but it's actually very simple and actually pretty easy to prepare. This will be something that you could prepare for a school party, school function, a family get-together, a Christmas party or something like that, or even just something to have around the house to snack on and deal with those sweet cravings every once in a while. I've been making my cookies now for a little over 10 years. I received the recipe and some cooking stuff as a wedding gift when my wife and I got married. Kind of a neat little gift that one of the ladies gave to us, and it took a few times for me to get it down pat, and it may be the same for you. You may get it first try, but definitely going to be a satisfying feeling, and you'll enjoy them a lot when you do get it down and you perfect your own cookie making skills. So without further introduction, I'd like to share and teach with you today how to prepare some homemade chocolate chip cookies. So the first thing we're going to look at is the tools that we're going to need when preparing the cookies. The first thing is we're going to need an oven. Obviously, it's back here behind me. That's what we'll use to bake the cookies. We're going to need 2 cookie sheets. I'll explain later why we need 2, but we're going to need 2 of them for this one. You need a mixer, either a handheld mixer or a bowl mixer. I use the bowl mixer because this is a large recipe and it's just easier to use the bowl mixer. And that is all of the tools that we're going to need for this recipe. The ingredients that we're going to need approximately 5 cups of flour, 1 cup of regular sugar, 2 cups of brown sugar, light brown sugar, 3 sticks of softened butter. The butter needs to be softened because when it's hard, it doesn't mix into the dough as well, and when it's softened, it just becomes more a consistency where it can mix into the batch a little bit better. We're going to need 4 eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and the all-important 1 bag of milk chocolate chips and 1 bag of semi-sweet chocolate chip morsels. Now that we have kind of our tools and our ingredients down, we're going to go ahead and start mixing everything, and I'll get into how that works and the process that takes place when preparing the dough. Alright, I took a quick second and kind of got all the ingredients out of its packaging and just wanted to prepare it so we could start making our cookies. So now that we have everything ready to go, we've got everything kind of out of its bags. I've got the butter, the eggs, the salt and baking soda, the vanilla. The chocolate chips are still in the bag, otherwise they'd be everywhere. And I also have our sugar and our flour. So now that everything's ready to go, we can start making our cookie dough for our cookies. And the first step we're going to do is we're going to take our softened butter that we let the butter sit out about an hour before we start making the dough. That way the butter is soft. As you can see, you can push on it. It's very, very soft. It just allows the butter to mix into the ingredients better. That way it's not lumpy. I don't know if you've ever made a cake or cookies and you don't let the butter soften. It just becomes lumpy and it doesn't mix into the dough or the batch very well. So we're going to put the butter into our mixer. We can just put it on low and let it mix for a minute. Just kind of work it out of its stick form. And once that's ready, we can leave the mixer going. We're going to take our eggs and our vanilla, and we're going to add that into the mixer. So here's our 4 eggs. And let that mix up for just a little bit. And add our vanilla. As that's mixing together, we're going to slowly, surely add our, go ahead and stop it for a second. We're going to add all of our sugar. And now we can go ahead and let our sugar start mixing into our batch as well. Everything's going to kind of start thickening up a little bit. It won't be such a liquid form anymore. And we'll start getting more of a doughy consistency. Right now it's very sticky, so when we add the flour, we'll be able to create our consistency a little bit better. After we let that mix for a minute, we're going to add in our salt, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So now we're going to let that mix for just a minute, and after that we're going to start adding all of our flour into the mixture. So now we've almost got all of our ingredients into our dough. The next step is going to be adding our flour. We need approximately 5 cups of flour for this. That's a lot of flour, makes a lot of cookies. But what we're going to do is we're going to start adding 1 cup at a time. That way, every time we do this, it might be a little bit off. It's not going to be exactly 5 cups every time. I usually do between 4 and 5 cups, just depending on the consistency that I get in the dough. By adding a cup at a time, we are able to kind of monitor the consistency of the dough, so that way we don't make it too dry if we add too much, and by adding too little and just walking away, it's not going to be thick enough to create the ball that we need for our cookies, and it's also going to stick to everything. It's going to stick to your hand, and you won't be able to roll up a cookie at all. So with that, I'm going to start adding in the flour about 1 cup at a time. I'm going to go ahead and lock this down, and we'll kind of just start monitoring the consistency of the dough. It does get a little bit messy. It's another reason why I like to add 1 cup at a time. If I kind of just throw a bunch of dough in there, or a bunch of flour in there, I'm just going to have a white cloud that's going to come up out of the mixer. It just doesn't mix real well. I know 5 cups of flour may seem like a lot, but this batch does make a lot of cookies. It's not a very small recipe, as you can probably tell from the ingredients, and it's a lot of sugar, a lot of flour, so it's not going to be just a bunch of, it's not going to be 12 cookies with a bunch of sugar. This is going to make quite a bit of cookies. Alright, I went ahead and added the rest of the flour. This time I actually needed all 5 cups of the flour. While I was mixing that up, I added in the semi-sweet chocolate morsels and the milk chocolate chips. I like to use both. It kind of just gives it a double flavor in the cookies. So the consistency I was talking about is something kind of like this. We want the dough to be soft, we want it to be moist, we don't want it to be dry and clumpy to where it's going to fall apart, but we don't want it to just stick to our hands to where we can't do anything with it. But it looks like we got a pretty good consistency this time. If it's sticking to your hands just a little bit when you're rolling it and putting it down on the cookie sheet, one kind of helpful hint that I've learned is you just kind of get your hands wet a little bit, wash your hands, let them kind of stay a little bit wet when you're rolling it together. You don't want them soaking wet, but just a little wet, a little damp. It kind of helps the cookies not stick to your hands. But now that we have our dough ready to go, our chocolate chips, all the good stuff's in it, we are ready to start putting our cookies on the cookie sheet and getting them in the oven. So I got the pan ready. I used my baking pan. Pam offers a bunch of different kind of product that they have. They've got stuff for grilling, just regular pan. They've also got this baking pan. I like to use that on my cookie sheets. That way the cookies don't stick to the cookie sheet when you are taking them off after they have baked. So when we're getting our dough ready, I like to kind of take about, a golf ball size, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, whichever you prefer. But I like to take about a golf ball size piece of dough. Then I'm just going to roll it up into a ball. Now, I don't leave it in a ball. If I leave it in a ball, it's going to not cook all the way through, and it's not going to come out very well. And If I flatten it all the way down flat like that, it's going to dry up, it's going to get hard, and it's not going to be a very good cookie. So what we're going to do is we're just going to roll it up into a ball. And after it's into a ball, we're just going to lightly press it down. Kind of gives it a flat yet still thick shape. We're going to place them onto our cooking sheet. We're going to space them evenly apart. The size of cooking sheet I have, it's like a 13 by 9. I can usually fit, about 12 of them on there, 4 rows of 3. That way they don't, bake and stick together and everything, and you'll get an actual full cookie. After you get them all on the cooking sheet, you're going to stick them in the oven. We've preheated our oven to 375. I usually kind of preheat the oven while I'm mixing up the dough. That way it's ready to go. When the cookies are on the pan, I can just stick them right in the oven. And we're going to stick them in the oven, 375, approximately about 7 minutes. Give or take a little bit, a minute or two. For everyone's oven is a little bit different. I got convection ovens, regular ovens, but I usually do about 7 minutes, and then I'll take them out. You want to leave them in there, keep an eye on them. You don't want them to fully bake when they're in the oven, and I'll kind of explain that later. But you're going to take them out when they're still, looks like just the middle tops of them have just a little bit left to cook. So I'm going to go ahead and get all the cookies on the sheet and get them in the oven. So now that we have our cookies in the oven, they've got about 5 minutes left. I kind of go over why I told you we need 2 sheets earlier when I was giving you the list of stuff we're going to need to make the cookies. I like to make these cookies for everybody, but I kind of like to make them fast. I don't like it to be a prolonged thing. I like to get in, make them, and kind of get out. So what I do, as I stated earlier, we need to take the cookies out about 7 minutes, right before they're completely cooked. So I kind of created a process here. It kind of helps make all the cookies cooked the same. They'll have the same time duration that they cook, and helps the speed of the process. So while the other ones are cooking, the first batch, we're going to start putting our cookies on our second cookie sheet. So as soon as the first cookie sheet is done, we will pull it out, and we'll let it sit on the top of the stove. And we will put the second cookie sheet in. Now, while the second one's cooking, for about 6 minutes of that time, we're going to let the first batch continue to cook on the cookie sheet. So that way, you're taking them out right before they're done, but when you take them out, they will continue to cook on the cookie sheet, the heat of the cookie sheet. What that's doing, it's going to finish cooking them all the way through, but it's also going to keep the cookies moist, and it's not going to dry out. So you're not going to have them on heat and then take them off immediately. That way they won't dry out. So that process will continue through every pan that we put in. We're going to let the last one sit out for about 5-6 minutes. We're going to take those cookies off that sheet and then put the next batch in. So we're constantly moving cookies. We're constantly getting them ready and getting the new ones in the oven. While we're doing that, we're going to probably make about 5 pans, maybe 6 pans worth of cookies. And after that, we will be all finished with our cookies, and we'll have a great snack to enjoy with everyone. All right, guys. So all of our cookies have been made. Like I thought, we made about 60 cookies. I got 5 full sheets out of it. So it's a lot of cookies. As you can see, you could easily have enough cookies for a birthday party, school party, just taking them to work with you, sharing them with friends, or just having them around the house. Just want to say that I really enjoy making these, and I hope that maybe it's a lot easier than it thinks. I hope I've kind of created that thought maybe in your mind, and I just hope that I've kind of inspired you to go out, make your own cookies, and kind of just spread the joy to everybody and enjoy eating cookies. So thank you for watching, and hope you guys have a great time making some cookies.